Hey, I'm Amber from Biceps After Babies, and I'm going to teach you how to perform the hip thrust. The hip thrust is a great exercise specifically for the posterior chain, really targeting those glutes and hamstrings. Depending on where you place your feet, we can kind of target more hamstrings or we can target more glutes. What you'll need for this is a barbell. You can do this with dumbbells, but you will need some sort of bench to elevate your back. That's what makes a hip thrust different from something like a glute bridge, which is done on the floor. So for a hip thrust, you will need a bench. I really recommend, if you're going to be doing a lot of these, to get a foam sponge. These can be found on Amazon for pretty cheap. But what this will do will just cushion so that the bar isn't resting on your pelvis, on your bones, and it's going to make it a lot more comfortable to perform the exercise. In addition, you can invest in things like bands, and if I was going to use this band, I would put it up above my knees. So you don't want to put it over the joint, but I would put it above my knees, and what this does is it forces me, it basically provides me some resistance in trying to separate my legs, which if you even just do this on without even any weight, you're going to feel as you do that it activates all of this outside, the outer thigh, the abductor. So I'm going to keep it on during my hip thrust. If you don't have one, that's fine. In order to get into position, we're going to slide underneath the bar, which is why you need a barbell to be able to do this. If you have dumbbells, you're just going to like put them on your lap. What I'm looking for is to get my shoulder blades up onto the bench. So I'm essentially resting my shoulder blades and positioning myself here so that my shoulder blades are taking the weight. It's not my elbows. I may place my elbows here, but none of the weight is on my elbows. It's all on my upper back. Now, depending on where I place my feet, this is going to make it a more hamstring dominant or a more glute dominant exercise. The closer I bring my feet to the bench, the more I'm going to be targeting those glutes. The further away I take them, the more I'm going to be targeting the hamstrings. What you are looking for in performing this exercise is that you want to be squeezing the lower body, squeezing the glutes, squeezing the hamstrings, and you'll notice that my upper body stays tight and kind of hinges back as I do that hip extension. So it's here, my upper body stays nice and tight. When I lower down and squeeze up and squeeze down. Really working on getting that contraction. I'm thinking about driving my knees out. Even if you don't have a band around your knees, one of the cues that I want you to be aware of is just thinking that I need to be driving my knees out, not letting them cave in on this movement. You should feel a lot of tension at the top when you perform the hip thrust, and it is a great exercise for those glutes and hamstrings.